No one, not even the people behind the movie at Sony Pictures, expected 2018's Venom to be the 7th highest grossing film of 2018. Making more than $850 million worldwide, the anti-hero flick was a monumental success. This unexpected acclaim left moviegoers asking a wealth of questions. Will Tom Holland's Peter Parker appear alongside Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock? Is Venom even allowed to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? This video will dig into all of these questions today and make the case for why Venom is guaranteed to appear in the MCU before too long.
Interested?
Heads up, spoilers for Avengers Endgame and Spider-Man Far From Home trailers will appear in this video. If you can jam with all that, get ready to dig into the bizarre legal and financial situation surrounding Spider-Man, Marvel, and the MCU.
Oh my God.
Venom is sure to appear in an MCU Spider-Man movie before too long, and may even pop up before the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. However, getting the hulking anti-hero into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is no easy feat. To explain why, we need to cover the weird and complex legal space surrounding Disney's ownership of Marvel Comics.
That's weird. Definitely weird.
Don't worry though, it's actually pretty fascinating, and you'll have something to make you sound smart at parties after we go through this. In 2009, Marvel Entertainment became the subsidiary of the Walt Disney Company. That means that the House of Mouse owns the rights to Marvel's many characters and can control and profit from their appearances in comics, television, film, and pretty much any other medium. Unless Marvel already sold the rights to certain characters and franchises prior to getting bought out by Disney. That's why Sony currently owns the movie rights to the Spider-Man franchise, and why 21st Century Fox made the X-Men and Deadpool movies.
Really?
Well, until Disney bought 21st Century Fox, but that hostile takeover is subject for another video. See, back in the mid to late 90s, Marvel was hemorrhaging money. While they did declare bankruptcy in 1996, Marvel leadership decided that the best way to make some quick cash to get the company back on track was to sell the movie rights to some of its most popular franchises and characters. That's how 20th Century Fox ended up making the Fantastic Four movies, and how Warner Bros. Was able to make the Blade trilogy. Further complicating things is the fact that it isn't always clear what company held the movie rights to which characters. Usually, when a company bought the movie rights to a franchise, they would also get any characters that premiered in that franchise. But that wasn't always the case. Famously, a version of the character Quicksilver appeared in both the latest X-Men movies and the MCU film Avengers Age of Ultron. Wow. This is because multiple versions of the character have appeared heavily in both X-Men comics and Avengers comics. Furthermore, while 20th Century Fox owned the rights to any character that's a mutant, Quicksilver only has the designation in some comics and not all of them. Yeah, it's a miracle that the superhero genre grew as big as it is today without the whole thing collapsing under a mountain of lawsuits. It was during this incredibly tumultuous media landscape that Disney producer Kevin Feige and Sony producer Amy Pascal met to discuss how Spider-Man could possibly appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. During these incredibly tense negotiations, where it's rumored that Pascal actually threw a sandwich at Feige, they made the current agreement that allows Spider-Man to appear in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. While Sony still owns the rights to the Spider-Man franchise and characters, they agreed to let Peter Parker and Spider-Man appear in Disney's major crossover films. Additionally, Disney gets full creative control over the Spider-Man MCU movies. In exchange though, Sony gets all of the revenue generated from the Spider-Man MCU movies and can still make their own movies featuring different interpretations of Spider-Man characters, as we saw in 2018's spectacular Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Why would Disney ever accept this deal, you might be asking? Well, that's because Disney still gets all the money from selling merchandise related to the MCU Spider-Man movies. That's right, every sale of a toy, poster, and Halloween costume modeled after MCU Spider-Man characters goes right into lining Disney's pockets. It's a weird and somewhat tenuous relationship, but it's beneficial to all involved. Disney gets to make a bunch of toy money and improve their MCU brand by featuring a specific interpretation of Spider-Man and Peter Parker. They're making pretty good use of him too, as Tom Holland's Peter Parker had some of the most emotionally impactful moments in all of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. Sony gets all of the money from any MCU Spider-Man movie, which from 2017's Homecoming alone is already a cool $705 million, and they don't have to put any of their own resources into the project. Additionally, these movies performing well increases the value of the Spider-Man brand, which Sony is free to use in other pieces of media so long as it doesn't directly interfere with the MCU depictions of these characters. like the Sony PlayStation 4 exclusive Spider-Man video game, which saw critical and commercial success when it premiered in 2018. Okay, now that you know enough about the fascinating legal world of superhero movies to get an internship at either Marvel or Sony Pictures, let's get into how this affects everyone's favorite shape-shifting symbiote. No, not Carnage, although you're free to love whatever edgy goop monster you want.
Hi, Eddie.
Sony Pictures developed 2018's Venom movie entirely on their own without any input from either Marvel or Disney. So even though Venom is a character that's heavily associated with the Marvel brand, the movie is not part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in any way, shape, or form. Upon its release, the movie was an entirely self-contained story that didn't even feature Peter Parker or Spider-Man, even though he's integral to Venom as a character in most of its depictions. Instead, we get the story about the alien life form Venom bonding with failed journalist Eddie Brock so that he can take down an evil corporation and stop another symbiote from destroying the world. Ultimately, they're successful, and Eddie and Venom decide to become vigilantes and take out murderers living in San Francisco. Then there's a tease during the movie's mid-credits scene that hints at Carnage appearing in the sequel film. Also, Tom Hardy makes out with Venom. Not when Venom is a hulking brute though, instead when the symbiote is bonded with Eddie's girlfriend and is in its sleeker she-Venom form, which is less fun. However, there's nothing in the movie that explicitly separates it from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sure, it's quite a bit darker in tone than the average MCU movie, but the two could still be connected, and we could easily see Venom pop up in the upcoming Spider-Man film. In fact, it would even be beneficial to both Disney and Sony from a business standpoint if Venom were to appear in the MCU. As Sony already receives all of the box office profit from the MCU's dedicated Spider-Man movies, they wouldn't lose any money from having Tom Hardy's version of Eddie Brock and Venom appear in Far From Home. Sure, Sony might lose a bit of creative freedom in having the character appear in a film directed and written by Disney, but it'd be pretty easy to have Disney stick with the already defined version of the character. An appearance in the Marvel Cinematic Universe would also greatly increase Venom's value as a character and could make the Venom sequel even more successful than it would be otherwise. Venom appearing in Far From Home would essentially be free advertising for Sony. An appearance here might entice a lot more casual Marvel fans to go check out the original Venom movie as well as the sequel film. Venom appearing in the MCU would also greatly benefit Disney. Not only would this appearance let them start making money off the MCU-branded Venom merchandise, but it would also increase the idea that Disney has more control over the Spider-Man movie brand than what they actually do. It's pretty much a win-win from a business perspective, and could even help improve the relationship between the rival movie studios. It doesn't look like Disney will be able to buy out Sony Pictures anytime soon, so it's definitely in the best interest of Spider-Man fans if they get along. There's also some pretty solid narrative reasons for Venom to appear in the MCU Spider-Man movie as well. The symbiote plays a big role in Peter Parker's character development in most comic series. Spider-Man almost always reaches a point in his superhero career where he becomes unable to juggle his dual identities. In comes the symbiote, which boosts his abilities and allows Spider-Man to defeat criminals more quickly and easily than ever before. Additionally, the alien endows Peter Parker with enough confidence to excel in his everyday life, even if his more selfish attitude pushes those close to him away. Realizing that the symbiote is making him a more violent and a worse person, Peter Parker rips off the alien, Venom is born, and their rivalry is born. Venom offers Peter Parker an opportunity to resist temptation and find value in his life of hardship. Even if the symbiote doesn't possess Peter Parker in Venom's MCU appearance, the character still presents Peter with the opportunity to gain tremendous power, but instead choose to rely on his own strength. It'd be fitting if Venom popped up in the upcoming Spider-Man Far From Home, since it looks like a big part of the film will center on Peter struggling with his duties as Spider-Man taking up more of his life. A Venom appearance in Far From Home also seems like it would improve the film, since it might be a bit straightforward otherwise. From the trailers, it would appear that the villains of the film are the Elementals. They're a race of interdimensional bad guys who want to take over the world because they used to rule it until they were sealed into a space between dimensions a millennia ago. Helping Spider-Man and Nick Fury take them out will be Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio, who claims to be from a different universe after Thanos' snap created dimensional rifts. This has led many to believe that Far From Home will serve as the introduction to Marvel's famous multiverse. However, Mysterio is a known liar. Like, that's his whole shtick. He's not actually magic, can't read people's minds, or control those around him. He knows just enough about practical effects, hypnosis, stage magic, and general con artistry to trick people into believing that he's actually magic. Which means that the movie version of Mysterio is probably lying about being from a different universe.
What?
It also seems pretty likely that he's the one behind the attacking elementals, so he can defeat the fake monsters and have people celebrate him as a hero. It's probably going to turn out that Mysterio is just running around in a rejected Iron Man suit that he dressed up to look magical and is actually a villain in the film. It would be one of the best twists in the MCU if all this played out in the first 2 acts of the film, only to reveal that Venom has been skulking around the entire time and is the big baddie that Spider-Man has to face. It'd be a fun turn for the movie to take, and genuinely surprising one since most moviegoers are under the impression that Venom can't be in the MCU. Even if the legal background is a bit complex and unusual, it really does seem like it would be best for Disney, Sony, and Spider-Man Far From Home if Venom made a surprise appearance in the movie. We'll all have to wait until July 2nd to find this out for sure, though. What do you think about this theory? Is there something in the deal between Sony and Disney that we missed, or do you think that Far From Home will shake out differently? Please let us know in the comments section down below. While you're there, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to Behind the Screen. It really helps out the channel and lets us make more videos like this one. Speaking of which, we have loads of Marvel theories and breakdowns already posted, and you should definitely check them out next. Also be sure to click on the bell icon. That way you'll get a notification as soon as we upload new videos and you can watch them before anyone else has the chance to.